Every now and then, I lose my bounce and just want to be alone. Have you ever felt like that? Some people like being alone all the time, but then some people like peanut butter. Ooh. When you feel down in the dumps, what do you do? My name is Ian Currey and this is Thinking Out Loud. Come on, let me tell you what I think. Sometimes I just want to be alone. Don't get me wrong, I love people, but sometimes, well, people can be annoying when you're feeling down in the dumps, can't they? So why be down in the dumps? It's such a lonely place to be and nobody much likes being there for very long. Have you ever heard me ask which Winnie the Pooh character you are? Most of the time I'm definitely Tigger. But I don't suppose anyone can really bounce all the time. Now, can they? This all sounds rather gloomy, doesn't it? I mean, Eeyore would be proud of me. Seriously though, many of you know that a very close friend of mine died recently. And sometimes it takes even the best Tigger a moment or two to come to terms with something like that. So how do you handle being gloomy? What do you do when you're feeling all sad and you don't want to do anything or be with anyone? It can be hard, can't it? Long ago, our youngest son fell and hit his head on the end of a bench. It was quite a bump, and we were all quite concerned about him. A well-meaning friend tried to comfort him by drying his tears and saying, "Oh, come on, let's dry those tears. Don't cry. You'll be fine. Big boys don't cry." His reply through the sobs made me proud. "Well, my dad's a big boy and he cries." Here's some advice. Never be so tough that your children don't see you cry once in a while. Yes, I cry sometimes, but does that solve anything? Maybe, maybe not. But it's fine to be sad some of the time, and tears are a real part of that. To quote Winnie the Pooh, "How lucky I am to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard." Now, how did we get to Winnie the Pooh again? I've noticed something. When we just can't handle what's going on around us, or perhaps we don't want to, we fall back on what we know. Dark times are no time to start learning where things are and what you need to do in the dark. No, of course not. You need to know before the dark days come. Know what to do. Have you ever noticed that right before landing, airline crew go quiet and stop chattering? Very often they do. Next time you fly, see if you notice. They aren't worried or afraid. They know what's happening and what to do. What they're doing is intentionally thinking through a few safety things, just to make sure those things would be an automatic reaction if anything did go wrong. Even something as simple as where the light switch is could be very important, couldn't it? I remember when we lived on a ship years ago, that whenever the generators stopped in the night, I would wake up and automatically jump out of bed, find myself fully dressed and heading to the engine room, all without thinking. I had prepared and formed a habit. My overalls were always in the same place, tool belt right there, and boots ready to go. That important habit stuck with me. All these years later, when we have a power cut, even though there's nothing I can do about it, I still sometimes find myself groggily waking up, getting out of bed and reaching for my overalls. And I don't have overalls anymore. When things do go wrong, what we do in those situations is very likely to be automatic. Training our minds to do something useful, the right thing, instead of just reacting randomly is important, isn't it? So what do we do when grief comes along? What when we just feel gloomy? What are the automatic things we do then? After I found a quiet corner, I really do think of stories I was told as a child. Maybe Paintbox the dog over there brings back a memory that helps, or Winnie the Pooh sayings even. Those things might help me get moving in the right direction, but sooner or later I need something more substantial. That's when faith becomes important. Some of the things I know and believe, some of the special parts of the Bible I know, start doing their thing. But, well, how do they do their thing? I mean, how can a few words from an ancient writer do anything? Well, first, faith has to be in there. You can't magic it up when you suddenly need it if it's never been there in the first place. I automatically fall back on things that are in there, that have been wandering around in there for a while. They're intentionally dusted off and thought about once in a while to keep things fresh. Just like those flight crew going through a mental checklist, dusting off things that need to be automatic. Just make sure there is no question when they're really needed. I know certain psalms very well, and I've learned to let the thoughts and ideas there come to life in the dark moments. The Lord is my light and my salvation, so why should I be afraid? Do you see? I know God is my light, my bounce if you like, but if I've not dusted that truth off, made it my own, I'm going to find it less easy to just know without thinking, aren't I? Now, this particular psalm has a lovely twist in it for me. All the way through, David is asking God to take care of him and protect him. He really seems to be afraid, but hiding in there is something I see with a smile. David says, "The one thing I ask of the Lord, the thing I seek most." And I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be good. What could David, the famous shepherd king, possibly ask from God? What is the thing he really wants above all else? Drum roll. To live in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, delighting in the Lord's perfections and meditating in his temple. Seriously? Is that it? I remember thinking, oh, that's rubbish. Who wants to be in church all the time? I want to be out there with real people, bouncing. There was a lovely typo in this script when I read through it yesterday. Instead of saying meditating in his temple, it said medicating in his temple. I laughed, but then realized that sadly, all too often, that substitution gets made in real life too. When we don't have anything to fall back on, medication may well be the only alternative. David, though, may have had other motives too. I don't think David was just thinking about having a good time meditating, or praying, I suppose we might call it. It's likely he was looking for a way out. For he will conceal me there when troubles come. He'll hide me in his sanctuary. He'll place me out of reach on a high rock. See? I wonder if David was really wanting to be in the house of the Lord so he could hide from dealing with his problems and the people he thought were causing them. Now, I love the idea of hanging out with God, as it were, but God loves people too. I'm quite sure hiding away in a corner isn't the way this works. Certainly, making use of all that is within us, all that way of thinking and being, the habit forming, foundation building character stuff is vital. But back to quoting Winnie the Pooh. You can't stay in your corner of the forest waiting for others to come to you. You have to go to them sometimes. David is telling us how to handle fear, and he finally seems to stir up something that has been in there all along. I am confident I will see the Lord's goodness while I am here in the land of the living. But then, tellingly, wraps up the psalm by saying, in the face of adversity, enemies and fear, and I'll include disappointment and sadness, wait patiently for the Lord. Be brave and courageous. Yes, wait patiently for the Lord. That seems like David is recognizing that sometimes things take time. And yes, they do. Eventually, when we've processed grief or whatever it is we're dealing with, and we've allowed God to do what we know only He can, it's time to move. No more sitting in the corner of the forest waiting. I always get to where I'm going by walking away from where I've been. Until next time, goodbye.